Welcome, my friends, to the show that never, ever seems to end. This is the Red All Over Away End show with our friend from Lincoln. I'll talk to him in a minute. If you're watching, please like and subscribe. You know it makes sense. If you're not watching, the only hope there is for you to sort it out. So if somebody's watching and you know somebody that's not watching, dig them in the ribs and tell them to go on YouTube and watch the show. I'd love people to send comments into the show because, and I'll answer to them all. I'll reply to them all. Right. Enough of my wittering. Let's get on. Listen, right. To our guest, please tell our viewer all about yourself.
So my name's Jake. I have been a Lincoln City fan for about 18 years now. And I am a co-host of that League One podcast, which is a brand new, spanking new League One podcast, which has gone down pretty well. But yeah, that's me.
That's lovely. We've been on shows together, haven't we? Before Jake Tong.
Yeah.
I didn't realise it was you. I'd just been told it was Jake, and I thought, well, I don't know who that is. Then I said, give me his full name. And she said Jake Tong, and I remembered that we'd been on Gabriel Sutton's EFL debate a number of times together. In fact, I remember you getting a fair bit of stick about having sort of model good looks and being
yeah, that might have come from you, though, Andy.
Oh, it might have done. You might check it. I mean, the ironic thing, before we even start, Jake, the ironic thing is you get noted for your model good looks and you're on a podcast, audio only.
I know.
I'm on video. And you know, I tell you what, Jake, I have said that since we went to YouTube for 3 seasons now, I've said I've got a face for radio or a face for podcasting. And not one person has ever said, oh, no, you have. They've all agreed with me. So it's depressing to have you on with me, really. So what I would say is, for anybody watching, just look at Jake and you'll be all right. Just don't bother with me. So let's get on then. You've got a new manager, haven't you? A new coach.
Yeah, we have. Michael Skabala's come in from Leeds United. It took just under a month to officially announce him when we parted company was the choice of wording from the club with Mark Kennedy after a defeat against Burton. They took their time. The bookies didn't know what was going on, but when do they ever? And eventually we've ended up with Skabala, who's got a really unconventional route into professional football, but a really interesting one, I think, through futsal and through the FA and then going on to Leeds United. I don't know if that's a bit of a swear word on your channel, Andy. I'm not too sure, but
some people call them dirty Leeds, but it would never pass my lips.
They're yeah, no, it's really interesting. And to be honest, we've had two games under Skabala now, and we've had a really good first half against Stevenage, which we lost. We had a really good second half against Orient, which we won. So hopefully Saturday we can have a really good 90-minute performance and take another 3 points. But yes, Mr. Skabala, or Scoobs, as we affectionately call him now.
It's easier than saying his full name. Scoobs is a lot easier. Right. I've got a few things that I want to ask you if I can. It might be difficult since you've got a new coach. Mm-hmm. What's your formation and style of play? I was going to say for the season, but since it's only been a couple of games with him,
I'll try and walk you through what we've played. We're in the same sort of system as we've played for the last sort of 18 months. Really, it's traditionally a 3-back, 3-4-3 with 2 sort of loitering number 10s behind a number 9, with really aggressive wing backs. That's what we were under Kennedy, and obviously, like you mentioned, Skabala is fairly new to the job, but in both games that he's had so far, he started off with that system, but mid-game has gone to a 4-back. So he's shown a lot of tactical flexibility. So we could go over 3 on Saturday. We could go over 4. I've genuinely got no idea, but I think it's good that we have that in our arsenal, really, so that we can surprise Barnsley hopefully on Saturday. But yeah, a 3-4-3 is what we're expecting.
What sort of style, Jake? Is it pressing? Is it taking it back? Is it controlling the ball? What's your knowledge? I know
it's difficult really to say, but Lincoln over the last year and a half, which is probably the best data to go off, have genuinely been a very good pressing team with a very good pressing centre forward in Ben House, which I know you're going to ask me about later. Unfortunately, he won't be available on Saturday, so the style of play sort of changed a little bit. We still played a pressing game under Kennedy, and Skabala has sort of instilled that. If you look at his Leeds under 21 side from the last sort of year or so, they're a very heavy metal pressing team. You know, he was schooled by Jesse Marsh, who got sacked, and he's come from the Red Bull school camp, if you like, where it's vertical pressing and pretty much in your face. It's that to a lesser extent. I've noticed under Skabala, we zip the ball around pretty quickly. So we do move the ball from left to right really quickly. We do like to get our two number 10s, if you like, in the pockets, and then they like to drive forward at defenders and take long shots. Unfortunately, one of those is unavailable now on for Saturday's game as he got suspended. But
Gutted.
yeah. Well, good for you, yeah, because he scored the winner on Tuesday night, and he's a fair player. Yeah, it's difficult because, like I say, I've only got 180 minutes of Skabala ball to go off, as we call it. But it should be. We do play football the correct way, I believe. We're not like a Steve Evans, Stephen Edside who moves the ball from A to B. We're on the floor through the thirds, pressing. It's a good style of play to watch.
It absolutely is. It's what we used to do, I think, most of the time, but not so much this season. So it's difficult to talk about recent performances. Would it be helpful if throughout all the questions you just say it's too early to say, and we can end this quickly then, can't we? We don't even have to talk much. So we can just say, I don't know. That'd be easy, right? One thing you might know, this, Jay. What players do you think we should watch out for? I don't mean watch out for that they're going to be dangerous, but somebody for Barnsley fans to watch. You know,
yeah.
to see.
I've got a couple. So Lars Sorensen is one who came to Lincoln from Stoke a couple of years ago as a central midfielder. Michael Appleton absolutely hated him and took him out of the side. Didn't really play under Appleton, but under Kennedy, he took on this sort of right wing back role because I think we did a podcast at the ground, and Mark said one day. Sorensen said he played right back once for MK Dons, and Mark just tried it again, and it seemed to really work. And since then, Sorensen's not looked back at all. He's so energetic. He's got great stamina. I think in the game against Charlton that we won 3-1, he took 11 shots and had 6 on target. So it tells you sort of the right back that he is. He's got 7 goal contributions from right wing back, so he's pretty nifty going forward. Perhaps not the best defensively, but he is a midfielder playing out of possession. I was going to point out Ethan Hamilton to you, but he's suspended. He would be a really good player to call out in terms of box-to-box midfielder, really energetic. Unfortunately, I've got to tell you about his partner, Ethan Errahan, who's just as good, who's a number 6 coming from St Mirren. We've paid a hefty fee for him. He's 22. The world's at his feet. He's so good with the ball. He's a bit of a bully in midfield. He's a bit of as Peter Crouch would say, a housery part of the club. He's fantastic in terms of he wins the ball back. He sets us off on our way. And the final player that I'll give a mention to, he's not been great in recent weeks, but on his day he can be. And it might be a familiar name for you, Danny Mandroyu. Scored the winner at Oakwell last year.
Thank you for
that. Good finish as well, to be fair to him. Scored at Hillsborough as well, actually, which will please the Barnsley fans. But he really good player. Will play off the left of the 3. A really good number 10 that came in from Shamrock. Really technically gifted. He's one of those players, Andy, that when he's on it, he's absolutely on it, and he proves that he should not be playing at this level because he sees passes that no one else on the pitch can see. But unfortunately, he don't play like that every week. But hopefully, Saturday he has one of his better games. He tends to play better against the better sides, and you guys are in the top 6 presently, I believe. So it's maybe time for him to shine.
There's a lot of Barnsley fans, or a good number of Barnsley fans, that think we're in a false position, that we're higher than we should be. If you look at the teams that we've beaten and that we've lost to, we've lost to generally lost to teams that are above us.
Yeah.
And beating teams that are below us. We've had a good away record until an absolute debacle a week or so ago at Derby, when we were frankly shocking. So we'll see. We put it all right when we changed a few players around and put in a decent performance, particularly in the first half away to Horsham. In the second,
doesn't matter now, though, Andy, does it?
Oh, leave it. I told you we're going to be doing a Red All Over show later with the usual villains, and oh dear, I'm really looking forward to that, because it might come up. It might come. No, it doesn't matter. What I am pleased about, and I'll not talk about it any further, I'm really pleased for Horsham. We've had a lot to do, as you might know, a lot to do, particularly on the way end, with Dominic, the Horsham manager, and Mark Wells, the historian come program creator, for their match day program. So what's particularly nice is that I'm having Mark has sorted out. I'll get him money for it, because we're not, it's a non-league club. He's sending me 3 programs signed by the Horsham players. So I thought that were a nice touch. We're going to use one as a prize, I think. But what's particularly nice is it'll probably be a collector's item by the time it arrives at this weekend. The replay that we won but lost. Oh wow, well, all too much. Right. Well, one thing I want to ask you, because you mentioned some really good players there, and I do remember some of them. Who's likely to go down in the penalty area in the 89th minute, or just outside the penalty area? Picture it. It's 1-1. You're pushing for a winner. Just inside the box, a long ball, a high punt. Who's going to go down as though there's a sniper in the crowd?
Well, over the last couple of years, we have had players that would do that. Jack Diamond would have been one. Obviously, he's no longer with the club for obvious reasons. We also, I don't know if you remember, we had Brennan Johnson, who's now at Tottenham.
Yeah.
He was on loan at Lincoln. He had a bit of a reputation for going down easy in the box. To be honest, Andy, we've got a really honest group of players, but I don't think any of them would go down. But if I had to give you one, I'd say Mandroyu, because he's that pretty boy type. He's you don't want to get dirty, but if he gets fouled, anything, and it clips on the ankle, if he's got a chance to win the game. Do you know what? If they got clipped in the penalty box, Andy, with 5 minutes to go, I hope they'd all go down, because we'd all want to win the game. So, I'll say all of them. I'll say to win the game, all of them. But if it's, but yeah.
It's funny you should say that, because Dominic de Paula said to us, I asked him the same thing at the first match, at the Totewell, and I gave him the same thing, and he said, "The better all go down." So I had this when it was 3-3 at the time. When it got to to added time, and they were putting a high ball in, I thought any second, every single Horsham player is going to go down clutching his ankle. They did get a penalty as well, as it happens, but he was clipped, so we're not going about that. So what are your thoughts about playing Barnsley? Good time to play us, I'll tell you that. What are your thoughts about playing us?
Yeah, regardless of if it's a good time to play you or whatever, it's going to be a tough game, because you guys we've packed out the away end. It'll be a sellout crowd. It'll be difficult. Barnsley, even to yours, if you're not playing to your best standards, are still a very good League One side. You've got some exceptional players in there. Devante Cole is someone you have to keep an eye on. Adam Phillips is someone that I've liked for years. When we were in League Two, he was at Morecambe and Accrington. I thought he was great then. McAtee as well. We know a little bit too well, coming from Grimsby. We don't particularly like him, so we might get a boo. But look, I'm expecting a really difficult game. Barnsley are perhaps weaker than last year. I think the manager changeover has not really helped with Duff going to Swansea. But yeah, it's be a tough game, because let's be honest, Andy, whenever you're in this division, you tend to be up the top end of it. And whenever we play a team like that at home, although we like to back ourselves, it's going to be tough. I mean, if we're going off last season, it was a 0-0. I watched the highlights back of it earlier. A really tough game. You guys had some great chances. We had some great chances. So I'm expecting a good game. It's obviously Scoobs' first home game in charge of Lincoln as the head coach. So it's going to be an occasion, hopefully. And it's going to be a tough one for him, but hopefully he can pick up 3 points on his first home game.
Well, before the season started, everybody that's connected with Red All Over put in the predictions that who'll be in the top 2 and who'll be in the top 6.
Yeah.
And I had Lincoln. I've got Lincoln in the top 6. So I've also got Exeter in the top 6. So
yes, I saw that. Tom looked shocked when you told him that.
I know. I don't think you were overjoyed. I don't want to put the hex on anybody, and I use the word advisedly. So what are your expectations? Where do you think? Because if you beat us, you'll go above us. You're only a point behind us, something. But I think it's a point behind us.
Yeah, we're a point off the playoffs at the moment, but we have played 18, so we are a little bit.
I know.
We're sort of waiting for everyone else to play catch up, which is bizarre because we're normally the team with games in hand. What was my expectation? To be honest, Andy, the league's weaker this year. When you've probably heard this a thousand times, but Wednesday out the league, Plymouth out the league, Ipswich out the league makes it a lot weaker. And the teams that came down from the Championship, obviously Wigan were in a mess. Blackpool weren't great financially and had some key players left, and then Reading came down an absolute show, didn't they? I feel for them actually, feel for their supporters. So the league, there's an opportunity for someone like a Lincoln, like an Exeter, like a Bristol Rovers, like a Port Vale, a Fleetwood, to go and really make a tackle on the top 6. And to be honest, with the recruitment that we had over the summer and the way we ended last season, I thought that could really be us because we've got a really good squad. We had a progressive coach in Mark Kennedy. And to be honest, I now that we've got a new manager and it sort of all changes a little bit, I would like us to still think that we can challenge for the top 6. And at the time of recording, we're only a point off, which suggests that I'm right. But we do have a lot of injuries. So Rico Hackett, Ben House, Tyler Walker, all out. We've got a lad coming in from the League of Ireland called Jack Moylan, who scored 15 for Shelbourne. He's coming in January. So if we can sort of stick no less than 5 points around the playoffs, come start of January, I think we've got a real chance. So my expectations were to challenge for the top 6, to be closer to it than we were last year, because we were about 15 odd points, maybe just less than that away. If we can close that gap to maybe 5 or even sneak into that 6th position, then it's been a really good season for Lincoln.
Yeah, because at this minute you've not got any goal scorer that's scoring loads and loads of goals. He's sharing it out amongst a number of players. I think, to my recollection, I think you've got about 14 players that have all scored, which is a lot of players. Might not score many, but it's shared, and it don't matter, does it? Don't matter if somebody gets 20 goals if everybody else is scoring. It doesn't matter. So give a shout out. You used to be with a different podcast, didn't you? You used to be with a Lincoln podcast last season.
Yeah.
You're back in this season. Can you give them a quick shout out? Because there might be Barnsley fans that want to listen to it.
Of course, can. So you're quite right. I used to be a part of the Stacey West podcast, which is like you say, a Lincoln City podcast run by a guy called Gary. There's Ben, Chris, and Charlie on there now. They do some really good Lincoln content over on YouTube and as a podcast. There'll be a preview that will go out for them. I imagine sort of tomorrow or Friday, depending on how they get it. There'll also be a podcast out on Thursday, sort of previewing the game and looking back at Orient as well. So that might be worth a listen. And then on Sunday as well, I know they do a podcast. But I used to work for them. I gave it up to for my new adventure, which is going pretty well. That League One podcast is doing incredibly well. We really appreciate the support, and we talk about Barnsley on a really regular basis because we cover every game in a lot of detail. So Barnsley fans, come over and listen to we call it T-Lop, that League One podcast. Come over and listen, because we do genuinely give a lot of love to Barnsley, because they're a really good side and a really good club. So looking forward to it.
Thanks for that, Jake. I mean, what I can say is that if it's a YouTube channel for the Lincoln, the Lincoln show, have they got your model good looks, or are they nowhere?
Crikey.
Are they an embarrassment to you?
Maybe not as good looking as I am, but
can't be.
They're all middle-aged men, you see, Andy. So they're all a little bit on the grey side.
This is an old man.
No, you're fine, mate. Exactly. You're at an age now where I'll test. You said no one told you got a face for YouTube. I'll tell you got a face for YouTube, Andy. You're beautiful, mate.
I love you, Jake. Thank you. Oh, your prediction for the game. What do you think? What do you think is going to happen?
Tough. I think, like I said earlier, we've had a really good first half under Skabala, a really good second half, and all that's really waiting to come is a really good 90-minute performance. And I think with the atmosphere, like Central Bank will be, or, well, the LNER as they like to call it now, will be good. Will be really bouncing on Saturday. I still think it's going to be tough. We all did score predictions on that League One podcast at the weekend, and everyone thinks either it's going to be a Lincoln win or a draw. And to be honest, I'm probably going to sit in the draw camp because I still know how good Barnsley can be. And away from home, you've been very good apart from the Derby game. So I am going to go 1-1. I'm going to cop out a little bit, but going to be a really good game, I think. Really, really looking forward to it.
If it makes you feel any better, Jake, when we did the first away end game with the replay with Horsham, Alan Smith, who does the Red All Over show with me and the others, he predicted with Dom and Mark there to be a 1-1 draw. Then as soon as we came off that, he did our own show and said we'd win 4-1. We drew as it happened, so he made a fool of himself. But he's another old fool. He's 3 months older than me, so he's an older fool than I am. And so that League One podcast for all our viewers, that League One podcast, give it a listen to. Sadly, you'll not be able to see Jake's model features, but at least
you can do.
To hear his voice.
Can do. We have a Patreon, Andy, so they can pay us £4 a month if they like, and they can we do record them with a camera, so you can pay us £4 a month and watch the video version as well. So
the Yorkshire people have a word with yourself, Jake. That's not going to happen. They're from Yorkshire. If you're going to spend out, you spend it on yourself. That's not going to happen. Don't think there's anybody going to spend £4 to watch you. I know, I've been talking about your looks and all that, but not that good, mate. Not that good.
Worth a go.
Jake, thank you ever so much, and it's absolutely wonderful to see you again. Hopefully we will soon. Take care, mate.
Cheers, Andy.